What is going on, y'all? Yo, man. Yo, bro. Dude. Last night, I wanted to sit in this chair and record this video so badly. I spent the entire day yesterday rent-free. I could not stop thinking about the chapter. I think up there is one of the most shocking moments in all of my time of doing this is when I turned the page and it said, "This is my peak, this is Gear 5th. Gear 5th. Gear 5th. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this chapter. As I'm sure is the same with all of y'all, but listen, man. Last night I was going to come in and record this. But there was a surprise podcast that I had a blast being on. And I was like, you know what? I'll save it for tomorrow. So it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And let me tell y'all something, man. It might be more rent-free now than it was yesterday. And I don't know how that's possible. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know what I'm going to say. But the number one thing that I can say today is that Gear 5th Luffy tunes. Oh, no, bro. That has to be. That's got to be top one, man. That's what I've been thinking for the past couple of weeks. Like, yo, how in the world are we ever gonna have something as legendary as the Volume 59 stretch in Marineford? Like, that stretch was just so special. And we've had 3 back-to-back, like 100 out of 10 chapters. But this week's chapter in particular, I've been putting a lot of thought into it in the past, like, 36 hours. Yo, this might be a top 5 chapter for me in the entire series, bro. Maybe even top 3. Maybe even top 3. Because here's the thing. Roof piece, lore piece, but then it's hitting me where it hits hardest. It is hitting me in my favorite theme in all of fiction. The main reason why I love this series with all my heart. It's hitting me with number 3 as well, which is an exploration on the theme of freedom. Gear 5th is another visual representation of the theme of freedom within this series. And that Luffy truly is the freest man on the seas, even when it comes to his fruit. More so than before. Because before I already felt this way, you know, we've talked about this before, and him being inspired by the individuals that he's come across, the islands that he's seen, the animals that he's seen, and that's always inspired his moveset. But after this week's chapter, in the way in which now he has endless imagination. Do y'all remember when the editor was like, yo, Wano's gonna go beyond imagination? He knew! That means Oda was in the office and was like, yo, this is Gear 5th. And my guy was like, what do I do with this information? And then the reporter came in and was like, yo, what do you think about Wano? And my mind was like, oh no, man. Beyond imagination, I guess. I mean, he was trying not to spoil us, but he couldn't keep it in. He couldn't keep it in. My man was like, yo, beyond imagination. And you know now he was talking about Gear 5th. Roof piece, bro, this man Luffy grabbed Kaido's back all the way up to the roof and said, roof piece ain't done. True roofers ain't done. The season's not over yet. He pulled him up there and said, Popeye the Sailor, man. Yo, he ate his spinach. My dog ate his spinach, bro. And this is the thing. You have the most legendary of roof piece. The most legendary of roof piece. And then you get the biggest lore piece thing for Void Sentry in the entire series. At least when it comes down to Nika, who we know is a very, very important figure. This was our biggest insight into potential origin of the fruits here, right? Like the fact that Zoans have a will of their own, potentially choosing their users. This is real endgame content right here. This is stuff we can speculate on until we actually see the Void Sentry. What do those words mean? Why specifically Zoans? And then we look back, as the posts have been saying in the past couple of days, ever since the chapter dropped, about the drums of liberation. Probably one of my favorite lines ever. And this week you have the warrior of liberation, right? But the fact that the Hito Hito no Mi, the human fruit, the model that Chopper has introduced back in Drum Island, because the things with Drum Island, right? Drum Island introduced Blackbeard, the Will of D, and well, it went more in depth into the concept of the Will of D. Brought out a couple of things. But more specifically, it introduced the human fruit on Drum Island. Drum, like, oh, I never know how much these authors have planned in advance. You know, there's no way for us to know. We know some of the greatest moments in the series were serendipitous, you know, thought of either the week of or leading up to it. You know, Shanks showing up in Marineford, the Nakama scene with Vivi, a lot of legendary scenes that were thought up on the week of or, you know, leading up to it. Like, it wasn't planned from super high on in the start, right? It doesn't have to be. But the pieces need to be put into place in order for these things to work. So the fact that there was even the smallest bit of insight in like 1999 when this man was writing Drum Island, it's like, dog. Like, bro. Yo, this week's chapter was special, man. This week's chapter of the best-selling manga in history legit is one of my favorite chapters in the entire series. I mean, how could it not be? How could it not be? Yo, even outside of the GOAT with the coat versus Kaido, beginning the final round here, Toon World Luffy Tunes! Gear 5th! Going up against Kaido, and you know he's got something else in his bag, yo. That bag is deep. Kaido's bag is deep, so you know there's something even more, something even farther than his homicidal phase. Something even farther than that killer will. Something even farther than what we saw at the end of 1042. There's a level even beyond that. Because if Luffy's going Gear 5th, there's no doubt in my mind Kaido's about to pull off something crazy. And we're going to have to go with the coat and Kaido throwing down in their final forms. The planet's going to explode. The planet is going to explode, bro. Yo, Luffy versus Kaido already, all bias, is probably like my favorite fight right now. You know, Luffy versus Katakuri and Luffy versus Lucci are such special fights. But the thing that Luffy versus Kaido has that the other two do not is the fact that this is between two emperors. And it's taken place over a few... It's felt like a true boss battle. And now it looks like we're going to get the Cloud versus Sephiroth 1v1. Like, it's time, bro. Ain't nobody else here. The party ain't here. It's you and it's me. And I have no idea if we're going to get into content where the rest of the Straw Hats show up. I don't know if Zoro wakes up next chapter. I don't know if Sanji makes it back up to the root. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else makes it back up here. Law, Kid, I don't know. But what I can tell you is right now, it's going to be 1v1 Luffy Tunes, the go with the coat, versus whatever awakened final form Kaido is. And when those two clash, if we thought the clash between Gear 4th and Kaido, with Gear 4 Supreme Kongun going up against the Supreme Dragon King of the Legends, Thunder Bagua, and we thought that was going to destroy the planet, wait until Gear 5th and the final form of Kaido clash. Gear 5th? Yo, I almost turned into a power scaler this week. As a matter of fact, I am a power scaler this week. Yo, y'all can't tell me Luffy ain't top 5 right now. Y'all can't even tell me Luffy ain't even top 3. Who's whooping my bro? When he's in this one, obviously there's repercussions to Gear 5th. It's not like it's gonna happen, bro. When he's in Gear 5th, who's whooping this man, dog? The man's bag is so deep you can put your entire, I'm talking your shoulder and all that. You still don't reach the end. You'll be in there mixing around like, yo, what's in this bag? I feel this, I feel that. It's never ending. Yo, what are the possibilities with Gear? Yo, dog. Transformation scenes are my favorite things ever. They always have been. That's what got me into Dragon Ball all those years ago. It's the transformations. I'm a big transformation and post-transformation scene tard. When it comes to a lot of my favorite anime manga series, they all, at least a lot of them that have hands being thrown, of course, they have those legendary transformation sequences. You think about the Super Saiyans, you think about the Sage modes, you think about the Bankais and Alphifications and all that stuff, right? But in One Piece's case, like Gear 2nd was such an iconic moment. I still have the poster on my wall. Gear 4th, another extremely iconic moment. And even so was Snake Man. But the thing that made Gear 5th so special is that it was like turning it to me was the modern day equivalent of if somebody was reading Dragon Ball back in the day and you have Goku randomly going out of nowhere and be like, this is to go even further beyond. And it's like turning the page, you see this man fighting against Boo and he says it's to go even further beyond. Because this entire time, leading up to this chapter the past 2 weeks with all the discussions, we were like, yo, the resin fruit and awakening and, Joy Boy reincarnate, a whole bunch of stuff. But the fact that in one chapter we got mythical Zoan confirmation. Mythical Zoan! Then on top of that, we got awakening, and awakening is Gear 5th. Yo, like I said earlier on, man, turning the page and saying this is my peak, this is Gear 5th, not only further reinforced why I love not only just Luffy's character, but his moveset so much because he came up with that on the spot. This is my peak. This is Gear 5th. That means that this is when he thought of the concept because this is the first time he's gone through this. And that's just how he comes up with moves. And now you're going to see his imagination / Oda's imagination on full display. He's having a blast. Gear 5th, I don't care what, bro, please. Listen, I forgave it this week because I love the Hiyori storyline in this arc and Oda puts in some bangers, man. That was Hiyori's best moment. That was honestly a legendary moment. That elevated the chapter even more than it already was into being potentially the best chapter in Wano. For me, right? I go even farther than the best chapter in Wano. Like I said, it might be top 2. Bro, this chapter was special, man. This chapter was special. And like I said, it's for those reasons. It's roof piece, it's lore piece, and it's freedom piece, all right? It's peak piece. But this is the thing. When you have this legendary stuff going down between Luffy and Kaido, it's like anything else that we switch to, I'm going to be like, why? From a storytelling standpoint, it makes sense, but for me, I'm like, I want this. I want to see my dogs throw down. So the fact that it did not take away from, and if anything, it enhanced it. It's like, yo, and this is, bro, listen, man. We cut back to Kaido, and he sees Conqueror's Haki coming out of this man's heartbeat. Bro, his heartbeat, there's Conqueror's Haki, is destroying the roof. The only other individual that we've seen Conqueror's Haki destroying some sort of structure is Shanks. And so you have this man doing this. He grabs Kaido, and then we get the most awesome moveset. Yo, I'm a main of the Toon Kingdom cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. It's my favorite cards to use because it allows me the freedom to use a lot of my favorite old school retro cards. So I can use Blackluster Soldier, which is my favorite card of all time. The blue eyes, the red eyes, DM, any of those, right? Like I love the Toon deck. I think it's really awesome. World of Toons. And so to see that within Luffy's ability, it's just the coolest thing ever. It is because it just goes to show no matter how many theories we have, we can never predict this dude, because he went above and beyond and gave this man a cartoon type of fruit, or a cartoon type of awakening, to where one of my favorite abilities of all time is an ability that's in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. No spoilers, but there's an ability in JoJo where you can bring characters that aren't real and bring them to life. And I always love that ability because I love abilities like that. I love stuff like that. I think it can bring out a lot of really awesome sequences. And the fact that this is Luffy's Gear 5th, the fact that now this man can turn into Popeye at any time, I'm going to assume if he's not limited by imagination. Now, remember how before he would do like the gum gum hammer? I think now he can legit put his hands together and create a massive hammer. You know how awesome that's gonna be? Like, just being able to go completely endless imagination and do anything you want. What is that limited to? Nothing. To his imagination. Are we about to say Dragon Luffy? You know, his forms have changed based on his imagination. The gears, now 110%, are based on the same type of thing as what Chopper has, where he goes into his different points. The gears are Luffy going into different forms of his mythical Zoan ability, which he himself thought of. You know, Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, Gear 4th, all things that he thought up of. And I love that. I think that's the main reason why I love this week's chapter's reveal so much. It's because it just further showcases that none of this would have been possible if anyone else had this route besides Luffy. Because nobody else would have thought of the gears. No one else fought Rob Lucci and thought about the Sodu. Thought about pumping his legs at that point in order to make him faster, make him stronger. You know, no one else would have trained with Rayleigh for a year and a half on Ruskaina and trained with all those animals in order to learn Gear 4th. You know what I mean? So it's the journey that this man went on, and how things inspire him that cause this chapter or that cause this ability to be as insane as it is. And I think that's just the most amazing thing ever, because you can give somebody the most broken ability, but if they don't know how to use it, or if their imagination isn't up to par, then, you know, they're not going to do anything with it. The fact that Luffy has done so much with this fruit is so dope. It's so dope. And to him, it's like it's always going to be the Gomu Gomu no Mi regardless. We're always going to hear Gomu Gomu no in the same way that he's still going to refer to himself as Luffy rather than Joy Boy. You know, he clearly has these two things, but he's not going to refer to himself as that, like, you know what I mean? So that's the way I'm looking at this entire scenario and why I love this so much, man. But the end of this week's chapter was one of those moments for me where, like I said before, as a big fan of transformations, just seeing a shocking transformation take place. One that you just do not expect, because there are transformations that are expected. But there are other transformations, like the one in Ichigo versus Ulquiorra, like the Goku Super Saiyan 3, like, there's a lot of shocking transformations where when they're going down, it's like, holy flagnards, is this real? That is how I felt this week. It really made me feel like a kid again whenever I saw Gear 5th, because it just further reinforced my love for transformations, but also it reminded me of why I love this series so much, in the way that it's able to go above and beyond for scenes like these, where I feel like if I were in this scenario, I would have made Gear 5th look like the coolest form ever. It would have been like the rawest looking form. I would have had this dude, because, you know, I love Snake Man's design, so I probably would have like had it a little bit based on Snake Man, and I would have gone, you know, I would have done something crazy. But the fact that Oda stayed so true to the roots of the series, and one of the things that really attracted me to the series in the first place, which is that cartoony type of feel that Luffy had with his abilities, you know, just going out, stretching, individuals can hurt him with guns, so whenever they would shoot, it would bounce off him. Like, that type of stuff was really, really dope to me at the beginning of the series, because I had never seen that done before. And just combining like that Disney type of feel to a series that is so emotionally deep. And even though the Pixar movies and Disney movies of the time were most certainly very emotionally deep, but to see that within a manga was really cool, and it's something that really attracted me to the series early on. And so to see that Oda has always stayed true to that, has always stayed true to not taking it, or not allowing Luffy's ability to ever be that serious. Like, there's always an element of silliness to it. But within that silliness, there's so much epic content. Within the silliness, there is so much goatness. And that is Gear 5th. Within the silliness, there is peak fiction. And that's how I feel about it, man. When I saw this man use Magic Cylinder on the Blast Breath, when he Rhizo'd the Blast Breath, pulled up the ground, made the ground rubber, pulled it up, and he said, not just bullets can I reject now. Now it's any type of thing heading in my way. And I was like, yo, the goat with the goats. Fucking me. Yo, after this arc, man, people are going to be putting some respect on the goat with the goat, bro. No doubt, son. No doubt. And it's like, we've been talking about the repercussions. There's most certainly a lot of possibilities now when it comes to the repercussions of Gear 5th. I mean, Gear 5th could legit kill him, forcing Law to use the Opi no Mi. Gear 5th could just shut him down completely, where we won't see Luffy or somebody like Zoro, right, who's also extremely injured. If Zoro doesn't get back up, which he has to... I feel like with this whole death thing that's happening right now, I feel like we have to see what's going on with Zoro soon, but I guess we'll talk about that in the future. But when it comes to Luffy and Zoro, let's just say they don't wake up for a while, right? They're going to be down for the count for quite some time. This could give Oda a window of time to explore a time skip of sorts where when they wake up, because you know we're going to have that banquet at the end of Wano, they had to see the borders opening. So let's just say right after Onigashima, they're knocked out. Nothing else can be done because Luffy is gone. So they have to wait until he wakes up. So let's just say whether it's like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, however long it is until Luffy wakes up. When he wakes up, they'll have the party. Remember, Wano's still quote-unquote closed. So they'll probably be like rebuilding a bunch of things while he's knocked out, all that stuff. If they're not able to gain any more information while this man is gone, and we leave Wano, and then in post-Wano, it is a world that is completely unknown to us as the reader. It is a world in which the Sabo and Vivi stuff has already happened. It is a world in the SSG has already done whatever it is they did this to the 7 warlords. It is a world where admirals are moving. The great cleansing has begun. Dragons on the way. It's gonna be a world where Blackbeard already got to the destination in which he was going to. So this is the thing. Whether Oda wants to continue this momentum from post-Wano going into the end of the series, and so they're not locked, Luffy's not gone for too long, to where we'll see them immediately go out and the Grand Fleet potentially showing up too because of his Vivid card, potentially if he did die last chapter, they could show up too. But the thing is it all depends on momentum. What is Oda trying to do momentum-wise? Because we've all been led to believe that after Wano, we're heading into the final stretch of the series. Even though Elbaf is technically going to be the final 4 Emperors arc, or does Wano conclude I think Wano concludes the 4 Emperors saga, and then Elbaf probably starts the final saga, maybe. But we're definitely going to meet another Emperor in Elbaf. You know, there's a lot of speculation. It could be Shanks and all that stuff, and I love that, and I'm down for that, 100%. But when it comes down to the from the series, from this point until the end, however Oda wants to go from a momentum standpoint is how long Luffy's going to be knocked out. Because 110%, we're not going to... If we see things happen while he's knocked out, in the same way we did in Dressrosa, then it's going to be insane. Like, we're going to see some stuff really, really popping off. What scares me is if Oda doesn't show us that. Is if we see the aftermath of what took place around the world, and post-Wano, when we go around the world, it is finding out all types of crazy information, true setup for the final part of the series. So it's like, I'm not talking about off-screening events, I'm talking about fast-forwarding to the events that really kick us off to the final saga. That's what I'm talking about, if Luffy's knocked out. And we don't see anything until he wakes up. It just depends on the way that he wants to go. We could either see things while he's knocked out or see things when he's knocked out. Regardless, what I'm trying to get to is, I think the Gear 5th plotline, when it comes to the repercussions of this ability, is going to lead us into Luffy being knocked out and not being able to do anything, which is the reason why they can't leave Wano, or why they don't receive the information they need to receive as quickly as possible. So Luffy and Zoro being as injured as they're going to be, and you know, when they wake up, superhuman regeneration, they're going to be in like swimwear, but they're not going to wake up for a while. At least that's my assumption. So I think the Gear 5th repercussion is going to directly connect to that, and that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see how this leads into the post-Wano content. And it's like, when we come back to Instant Messenger Summon, we come back to Shanks, we come back to Dragon, it's like, are they gonna make any mention of Nika, of the Truth, of the Drums of Liberation, of any of that stuff? Joy Boy, like, when we see them again, are they going to reference any of this? Because Shanks has to. Shanks needs to give us some answers next time we see him, dog. The fact that we got the Gorosei in this week's chapter, it's like, the mind's been running, man. But I think the biggest takeaway is that we witnessed history last night. Well, the night before. What we witnessed was just a chapter that forever changed the series. A chapter that we were able to experience, and now people who are catching up to the series, if they're spoiled on it, they're not going to know the truth, or they're going to know the truth about the Gomu Gomu no Mi going into it, whereas all of us, we didn't know the truth. And so turning that page was crazy. You know, there was speculation, of course, based on what was happening in Wano ever since the Who's Who plotline was brought into the picture. But seeing it actually come into play and seeing the Gorosei actually state what it is, it's like, it's forever going to change. So people catching up, they're probably already going to know that it's not the Gomu Gomu no Mi. They're going to know potentially that there's a Gear 5th. It's like, these are things that we didn't know. And I think that's what makes this week's chapter so special, is that it reminds me why the weekly One Piece experience is unrivaled. It's a testament to why experiencing this series weekly is so special. Where even though most certainly there's points and times where it can get very toxic in the community, and there's points and times where the chapters aren't going as hard as like they are right now, for example, making it feel like it's very slow, you just want to get to the next part, even though the setup is definitely necessary. But when stuff is hitting like this, and we're receiving moments that are truly legendary and out of this world, there's nothing else like it, man. It's the greatest experience ever. And I'm so glad and thankful and grateful that I was able to experience Gear 5th alongside all of you. As a matter of fact, we had 1,029 concurrent viewers from what YouTube told me on that night, which I've never had even close to 1,000 concurrent viewers. So that was the coolest thing ever, man. And we did that for Gear 5th, y'all. Gear 5th, man. The fact that it exists still boggles my mind. Like, Gear 5th exists. And it's just crazy. Luffy versus Kaido from now on. Like I said, there's two different routes. And with Oda, there's like a million based on Gear 5th. And anything's possible now. But what I really want to see next chapter is Gear 5th just going all out. And I guess I'll save that for a predictions video, because I do want to do a predictions video this week for the next chapter. But I just, man, like, I can't wait to see Luffy versus... Because the thing is, up until this point, it's been so much fun to see Luffy and Kaido throwing down, especially with the element of Conqueror's coding. But now when you throw on a completely different moveset in Gear 5th, and things that are going to come out of nowhere in regards to his abilities. When we saw what he was doing this week, you know, doing suplexes, throwing him around, the Popeye, and then the magic cylinder. It's like, yo, the goat is out here, dog. He's out here. I love Gear 5th. Gear 5th might already be my favorite transformation in the series. Like, it might not even be close. Because the thing is, it like I said, it represents the character. It represents Luffy's freedom to the highest extent. The freedom to do whatever he wants as long as his imagination can think it. And I love that. I love giving somebody who wants to be the freest in the seas, somebody who represents freedom in this series, an ability like that. Because not everyone could take advantage of an ability like that. And there's some people who would just use the same things. There's some people whose imagination isn't as high as someone like Luffy, who sees everything as being so amazing. Like, he sees so much wonder and whimsicalness within the not only just series itself, but whenever it goes to an island and there's like a big nipple lighted cyborg, he's like, yeah, this is goated. Or going down in the ocean and he sees this massive fish, he's like, yo, that thing looks cool. Whatever it is, it's those types of things that make this fruit work for him, because he finds so many things dope that he can put into his moveset that not everyone else would do. And I think that's yet another thing of Oda himself writing a piece of himself, quote unquote, not necessarily a self-insert, but showing in the way that he also writes a series too, where it's so many different influences that are continuously coming in from the stuff he experiences, and the coolest things end up making it into his own little mix that he's making here with One Piece. And I find that to be super dope. And I love that. I love how we were able to connect the theme of freedom, how Luffy liberates other individuals, how he has throughout the entire series. And we connect that now to his ability. And it's something that's always been connected, but I feel like Gear 5th is the apex. It is the peak, as he stated this week. It is the peak of that. And it's so dope. I loved it. I loved this week's chapter with every fiber in my being, bro. Like, I can't even get to tell you, like I said, because I love transformation so much, and then you connect that to the theme, you connect that to the lore, you connect that to all of this, Roof Piece is back, and it's like, when you get to these final pages, and shout out to the color spread, man, the individuals behind the colors, like Woden Creative, Jackie Pop, Graish, for delivering these awesome things. Yo, this panel right here, whenever Luffy's covering his eyes and he's laughing, this is like one of my favorite panels in the entire series. It's so goat. But it's like you see these panels back to back to back, and yo, Luffy holding onto Kaido's thing. He's like in super Popeye mode here, and he's just flinging him around. He's flinging Kaido the flag darts. He looks like he's in Gear 4th. He hits him down onto the ground. He's still laughing. I'm like, yo, go fire some blast breath. He's going crazy. Luffy dodges back, brings up the ground. I mean, come on, man. And fires it right back at Kaido. Like, I love this chapter, bro. Like I said, there's moments that you'll just never forget when you'll first experience them, and I'll always be grateful for the moment in which I experienced Gear 5th, dude. Something that we had been speculating on whether it existed or not ever since Gear 4th was brought into the picture. From the moment that Gear 4th chapter dropped back in 2015 on the old channel, we spent those 2 weeks speculating what Gear 4th is. Then he brought out Bound Man. It was so awesome. Definitely my transformation up until that point. Then we saw Snake Man. It was like, yo. So it's like the possibility was always there. When we get to Kaido, does Gear 5th exist? Or is Gear 4th the final? And what I love about the way this arc has handled it is that it left us with an ankle-breaking moment like this to be a possibility. Due to the fact that Luffy had been learning real hockey training, he had mastered, or now he's definitely mastered, a majority of his hockey, right? Like with Future Sight, even though he still has a little bit to work on that, but still getting really, really good at Future Sight. The ornament, yo, Conqueror's hockey coding, that changed the game. At the time, we were like, yo, Conqueror's hockey coding might be his final power-up in this arc, because that's just huge. The fact that he was walloping Kaido that time in 10-10, I thought 10-10 was going to be the peak. This is the peak. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that we actually surpassed. This is the reason why I say Wano's my favorite arc. Like, when you look back, like, look, man. Roger laughed. He laughed. 1,000. 10-10. 10-10. Those are peak chapters. To surpass all of them with what I'm going to assume Oda was talking about when he said this is what I want to keep an eye on Luffy. It's for this and the stuff that's to come. And we haven't even reached a peak yet, because you know Oda peaks at the end of his arcs. It's like, how could Wano not be top 1? At least for me. It's like Gear 5th. But it's like in the way that he was able to utilize hockey throughout this arc, it just made me feel like, oh, okay, hockey's going to be the reason why he wins. Hockey's going to be the reason why he wins and he overpowers. His will will be stronger than Kaido's. And Oda broke our ankles and gave us not just Awakening, which we thought he was going to pull out whenever he met Blackbeard or later on in the series. No. He went Gear 5th too. So Luffy got Conqueror's coding and Gear 5th in the same arc. All against the world's strongest creature. I'm telling y'all right now, Luffy versus Kaido by the end of this, gonna be the most goated fight ever, man. Because what we're about to run into in the next chapter is Luffy, because I'm sure so many of y'all like me, where we just want to see more Gear 5th. We want to see everything Luffy could do here. But not just that, we're excited to see how Kaido retaliates. I know Kaido's like, you know what? It's time to go final form. Like, it's time to hold nothing back. This guy can handle it. This guy can handle it. I'm going all out. 100% Kaido going in like somewhere, both of them heavily damaged, but having the time of their lives, going in, destroying and throwing heads. We're gonna be experiencing peak fiction for the next couple of weeks, man, or until this battle ends. I know the end of this week's chapter said the battle reaches its finale next issue, cover in color. I don't think the battle ends next week personally, but like I said, we'll probably talk about that more in the predictions video. But most certainly, I don't think the battle ends this week. I think it's going to be a scenario where we start like the final battle, like we started the final battle this week, between Luffy and Kaido and whatever else that entails. But I don't think the battle ends next week. I don't, because like I said, I think Kaido has more. And when we get to that, where it's final form versus final form, the skies really start splitting, and the planet itself starts splitting. That's when we get into the peakest of the peak. I love Gear 5th, dog. Like I said, man, when it comes to connecting someone's ability to what they represent as a character, Gear 5th is freedom. Gear 5th is showcasing what I love so much about the series, which is the endless creativity that Oda has showcased when it comes to abilities, characters, powers, structure, all of it. All of that is represented through Gear 5th. And I love it. I can't wait to see what more he's going to do with it. But until now, this is without a doubt probably my favorite transformation, man. It's just so dope. Luffy Tunes is out here. He's ready to go up in like swimwear. One of my favorite chapters ever, undoubtedly, and probably my favorite chapter that I have experienced weekly in my time of being a YouTuber. Just experiencing this with y'all was a really special time, thinking about it, discussing it, and just seeing other people's reactions to it. I've loved the past couple days, man. Ever since the chapter dropped, it's been a really special experience, and I'll forever hold in my heart like the fact that, like, just thank y'all so much, bro, for not spoiling me, for always keeping me in guard, because Gear, I'm telling you, there's not many moments that can compare to turning the page and seeing this is my peak, this is Gear 5th, and then somehow surpassing the hype that went into that line and giving us this Luffy Tunes thing. I love this chapter, man. I really, really did, one of the greatest chapters ever. But I'll see y'all next time. I look forward to seeing what the best-selling manga history is going to do next. The next video you'll probably see from me will be the predictions video for 1045. Super, super excited to see what happens there. It's probably going to be a short one because I'm expecting nothing but hands. But I do still want to talk about it because my hype, I can't stop thinking and talking about this chapter. So I'll see y'all next time. Gear 5th, the GOAT. Gear 5th, yo. I'll see y'all next time. Have an awesome day. One Piece greatness. Man, yo.